I say, friends. I am Vitaly Portnikov. Kilka chwilin, that Paris has completed the very coalitions of the hunters I vidbulasia yogo pidsumkova pre-conference. In the CE pre-conference, they took the fate of the presidents of Ukraine, the Third French, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, the Federal Chancellor of Nimikini, Isho Sakavo, the representatives of the newly received staff of the State of the Youth, I Jared Kushta, who became one. Vijurkalenyam Zatsakavlanosti. The staff members in the Ukrainian peace process, that is, the youth I Jared Kushner, did not come to Paris on the Zustrik. Ale they took, Yak Bakimo, the fate of the pre-conference. For the third pre-conference. Pislia Zakinchenia Samichu Koalitia want, there will be another round of paramovin between the Americans and the Ukrainian delegation. Ayak and Zrozumidi, Chi Peremovini for the part of Steve Withoff I Jared Kushner, will be Pradovzuvaticia, I versus offensive. Dieni. I'm not talking about the significant progress at their paramovines. About the sea, so you say Stevie Uthov at your own statement, Yak Vin Vigilashuvov Yak at the sea pre-conference. So I piss moreover, Yak. Vona Zakinchalacia at the Publikovany in the Social Morezek declared. Ale epigraph before, show me Spostarigamo, could have been the words of Jared Kushner. About those who are within reach of a significant one. Progress on all meals, Ayla C does not mean that peace can come. I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to have an important moment, which is obvious for. Rozuminya situacji, to that show dis side of the stink of the house, they are enjoying themselves, they are enjoying themselves. They are reaching progress, Ayla dosi nime rozuminya, Naskilki President of the Russian Federation Putin, Naskilki Rosi. Politik Karavnitstvo, I Rozieski Vijsk. Viskovi Zagalum, ready to be Yak Rishon. Yak in Osyazhny Maybutny prized it to the completion of the Russian-Ukrainian Vini. And I'm going to have to think about this format. If all the changes are made without the participation of the land, I'm going to have to. A Yaka Napovnina Risakostyu, Kiu Vinu Pradovzuvati. A Yaki Mechanizmi Streamuvanya Saya Krani, not for that, Yak Vina Zakinchitsia. The fact that the number of roses on the Sich Semites is important is attributed to the fact that it will be. If Zakonchitsia Vienna, Yak myself Posididi. And Yaki Instrumenti completed Ze Vini, as the President of the Russian Federation, obviously, Bazhais Robidi Bezkiniknoyo. I'm not fed up with the fact that I'm going to look at you from the point of view of intensity. And Yak Kia Vina Bud Vigliadati Sama Z point Zer Moslivosti finalizacji. That's why, in principle, at once the Russian-Ukrainian Vina can be porivnina, Yak shows Robidi such a precise image of a gas burner. The 5 axis turned on the gas. If you want to go to the gas stove once in your life, you can rob the greatest Chimenshi Vogan. IV Bachite, Yak Porizno Gatuyutsia dish, Yak V Zbiraya. Zrobidi, Chi-Yak, in Yakoma Tempi Okrupzi appear, Yaksho Yogo Put Kipatidi China. You can see Robidi on the great Vogni I Vitrichati, with such a rank of a great Kilkist resource, and you can see Robidi on a small Vogni I Vitrichati Menshu Kilkist Resursive, Ale Negalovnish, I see Negalovnishim, Z point Zer di Roziaskoi Federatsi. You Nablizchi Roki Pidtrimuvati Stan Vini, Shab such a rank Paratvoridi territory. Suzidni Krani on the territory is hopeless. Zavadidi be like investitium, Zavadidi be like please about the Protsvitanya of Ukraine, about Yaki at once Razmovlut at Paris. A Yaki that very stiv vidhov, calling them factually Uzgajanimi. Please, Yaki may bring. Ukrainian Protsvitanya, ALC absolutely obvious Patanya, Yaki Zavsdi Vinikayat with such a skin. Turi Paramovi. I am with you, I ask you to feed, and you, in principle, in tools. I can help the participants to paramog at the quiet ones themselves, the staff members will achieve the same weather. On Pavn Pripanenya. Boyovidi? At once, I absolutely do not vashayu, because the participants of the quiet paramovin can talk about the current situation. And not vrahovudi razvitek. About Maybut, it's so hard to think. In the new year, there was a lot of hopeful sliv statements, but they did not sound earlier in principle. One of the most important statements, I want to call it new, is to be ready for France and Great Britain. In order that I will sign a contract, I will regulate the entry into Ukraine, conduct my own business on the territory of Ukraine, and organize a business center on the territory of Ukraine. President of the French Republic Emmanuel Macron ped. Show frontline zahistu bud zbrojni sili Ukraini, ich potribno bud finansuvati. To that show mova ide about the army 800,000 viskovosluzbovtsiv. I cite may beauty nagalnoyu task for Evropi, that show bagato to zapichu. Do you Ukraini budit sili, shab finansuvati taku great army. Ukraine has a great army. Ukraine, zvicheno, may vitrichati livovu chestinu of your budget on the basis of such an army. You will be happy to have a bagatok of spokoslive social obitzian, yaki zavsdi so befitted. To the Russian Hromadians, they will not be real at the 20s, 30s. And maybe I am in the 40s of the difficult 20s of the Pershistorikia, show obitzia beauty our crisis Ivian. It's obvious that Ukraine's self-helpers can't cope with the task of such an army. The recreation of Ukraine on the forts of Europe by the great army, on the land. I will be a part of my potency to be seen on the defense of Russia, and the Hromadiani, who will be ready to Zakistu Batkivshini, may be saved on the European penny as well. I am for the part of the Ukrainian and European Vieski-Saz. Hi. Zbrojni sili Ukraini budit pershoi liniu defense, other liniu defense mayit beauty Frenchmen. Britansky that inchi European warriors, ready to shoot at the Russian payouts. Yaksho vonis novu to destroy the world to please Iznishidi, not. God, be more imaginative of aggression. Bandit army, Yaksho, Putin chiyogo spadkoemchi wirishat znovu voivodi, z matoyu zahaplenya Ukrainskoy territory. Iznishenya Ukrainskoy Derzhavnost. And I'm practically singing, so I'm going to be robbed, if I'm not Zakinchalasia Chestina Zapatlogo Russian-Ukrainian Protestoyanya. Siemens Dietsia, Zrozumi Koj, to marvel at the Vigadane of the Maybutton Ukraine, the Susidne powers, Uvidomluchi. Show suffered a simple expanse of space conflation, point of view of the Russian ambitions. I would say Maralita world, Yakmi zaraz bechimo until statements of the American President Donald Trump. Robert Kolesny Radansky Republic has blow spokusa, not only for the President Russi, I be saying to Rossakeho people. Those, show Ivrapitsi think about his Vieska, see Nepogano. To rob us of a part of Europe, we will defend ourselves against a possible catastrophe, at the Nablajomu Mibu. So show key words me chuli. Good, show stink sounds novu. Those, show me did not chuli I pachuli si ogodni. I see disno sensational statement. See words of the Federal Chancellor Friedrich Merz about those, show Nimechina is ready to take on the Krayazanya. Shodo bezpeki Ukraini ivc Evropi. I've Zagali think that the words of the former German Federal Chancellor sounded better than any other Svitovoy Vini. See such an historicny moment, on which I am a beast by Uruvaga. That's why it's quiet, because it's boof in front of Friedrich Merz, without having to say such words in a puffy way. Vid nimikini, si bud vimagati dosit seriasne I activnidi. Those may be the reasons for the reorientation of the Nemetskoy ekonomiki nasimperd on the Viskovi Reiki. If Germany wants the way Kranu, jak bud wdowa for bezpeko Evropejskiego the continent. Von got betrayed Felis's koszty on the weapon, Turvdovitz from Bagato social programs. The hour of the European bagitstvo. I may on uvazi, if I move-eyed about the skin of a specific person, calmly I vovneno-eyed at the minute, to repair the hour of defense. In a friend, it's a good idea to revive, Reali's robidi na bogato, bilsh effectivnim Niemiecki Wojskowo Promyslowy complex. That's why I got a staff that I don't want to take on myself, because of the lack of trust in Europe. And the two nuclear edges of the continent of France, Great Britain. Don't get enough pennies, the stink is known in post-winter crises. For the Vlasny Wojskowo Promyslowy complex, the same Niemczina may be nadati najbilszy resource on rozbudowa. Potem delikatnie pytania. Niemczina is ready to guarantee Ukraine without a mortgage. With the help of the financial information, obviously, with the help of the Postachania's bro. Ala Niemczina is not bad, but they entered the Ukrainian territory. I see all the same effect other Svitovoy Vini, Yakvi Rozumite. Not bad, Shab Nemetsky Vieska entered the Ukraine territory. Shab did not have a direct Itnenya Nimsev, I Rozion. Ale Nemesik Vieska Godev Razmestite, Yak saying Thmers, have Susani z Krani with Ukraine. And now Skavo, in Yaki. Naskilki, I say, Poland will be ready to accept the German army, Vrahovwichi anti-German mood. Jak panuyut you right che ultra-right Polish Saradovici, I am a good representative of the former President Karol Nawrocki. Well, see Poki show purely theoretically Pytania. Jak vi rozumiet, see theoretically Pytania takoj duvatime vidpovidi, unablizji hour. I, at least, hot by otrimati Q answer. Ale the fact of that, show Niemiecki Vijska. I want to beauty along the perimeter of the Ukrainian cordons, CT Skava application of the Federal Chancellor Niemekini. Of course, C is so important to feed, Yaki Bewley with a statement on the whole. C pre-conference. At once is sim, znovu still, neme vidpovidi on the smut Pytania, jak budit reactivati Roziani on the key VSE declare. Up to this hour, the Rozias Karavnitstvo Rishush Vistupalo about the presence of any Vice-Crane member of NATO. On the Ukrainian territory, Pidkresluvalo, show warriors Visk member. NATO will be the legitimate sila of the Russian army at the time of the Third World War. Now Great Britain and France are talking about Namir Stvoridi Viskovi hobby, so the center on the Posse territory of Ukraine. Pozduvati storehouses, fighting techniques. I see everything is said not just at the pre-conference, C is said at the declaration, PED is written at Paris. See declaration about Rozmishenya Bogato of national forces on the territory of Ukraine, Pisli Pripanenya Vognu. Ale President Emmanuel Macron to say that the guarantee of the transfer, the peace of the agreement between Russia and Ukraine, will not be destroyed. I will not get such a rank. Viskum Rosi I Ukraini enter into a new conflict, Yakvi Rozumite. Site Vasliv Pytania, Pavyazon is Tim, show Vidbuvetsia. In the Russian-Ukrainian way. So here we are, Yakvi Rozumite, te me beauty rozuminya moreover, yak vid buvatima situation in neblijomu mebutnomu. Zursel. Participating in the process. Zvisno, Amerikanci, jak Iranish, Spodovaitsia, shov dasti virishiti so-called territorial Pytania. I want to say the same at a pre-conference. The conference was held, it wasn't just progress, it stank, they heard the statements of Volodymyr Zelensky. That they had participated in the crossing of the territory. I'm not being critical. Pytania? Mi prodawzimo ci discussion, I możemy reach pewne kompromisy shodo sogo. I, Chesno Kazuchi, not duj rozumiew, znowu the same, about yaki compromise I'd mova, that show me poki shozi you. It is impossible for me to get into the fact that I have a reason, a situation that is caused by his territories, which is the key for Vladimir Putin. The axis is very difficult to understand if we talk about key paramogi. That's why, in principle, it's said so, the Americans are still spodovaitsia. Because they can be a nobleman of the territorial act on the side of Ukraine, Putin's primitiveness. Until the end of the fighting days. Ostos show stink in principle to speak, if you move about the Besenia Zakinchenia conflictu. Ivrapici te spodovaitsia show in a whole time. Yaksho the Americans to negotiate with the Russians completed the conflagration, the stink of water can be made at home. About such a guarantee without a mortgage. Yaki primusiat Moscow Pagoditi. I was born in the presence of the European cities on the Ukrainian territory. Skazati, on which all the Sizrahunki basuyut, me do not know. As for the concrete real data, we would have read about those, if you had a reason, what is so important in Washington. And what is so important in European capitals. Mies namo. I don't know why on one side, Trump is ready to guarantee the Russians that Ukraine will not join NATO, but on the other side, the Americans may be waiting for Tim, because the Ukrainian region is a member of NATO will be on Ukrainian territory. Ale the contours of these households, the stink of zrozumili. Ivrapici garanchuyut land bezpeku, Turakina morska bezpeku, and received the staff nadayat logistiku. Rozviduvlnoyu informatsiu skinny pidtrimku si koalitsi. On the very day in Paris, they talked about those who had received the staff, ready for such a fate, ale at the application. As if they had lost their minds, they did not know anything about the fact. Now it's an absolutely obvious drain. Zoru logiki process. To be sure, I am a duj seriozna obereznost Ukraini. I obereznost spoluchenik stafiv, I obereznost evropejski crane. All the time, you can say that you are hopeful, but it's not rosum, I can achieve a good rosia. Kushner at the CE pre-conference said, show Trump, Pislia paramoven z Putinim, to be able to do the right thing. According to Ukraine, I am right to agree to mean, if you offend the de-escalation of the situation, there will be mechanisminatoring. As well as instrumenti de-escalation at Vypadku Poroshenya mines please. Ukraine may be beauty at Batspetsi with small mechanisms of Utrimki, Strimuvanya. Sipobijniki, Shab Vino was not repeated. El yak si may look, nothing can be zrozumidi. If Diav to talk about Proct, after Wonogo Vib Nuline Ukraine, he say, what need dwellers men, that turn Dodoma after wine. Smogly to sneedy robot. I see will be more important for the people of Ukraine. I'm not going to explain. I'm going to give you a guarantee of security for Ukraine. I'm going to turn people around. I'm going to be married in the distant lands. I'm going to turn around, so it won't happen again. CJ Te. Dosit Vasliv Patanya. Well, I'm surprised at the statement of the Vith, Shabs Rozumidi, Dechi Obitsianki Americans. Take the fate of conflicti, I garantuvati everpatesum pidtrimku. We have reached a significant progress along the most important straight lines of robots, including our two-sided system of guarantee of security and a plan for the protection of Ukraine. Koalitia publikuvala the application, In Yakoma, she poured her concept of a guarantee without a mortgage. Mi pogoj wemosia koaliciu in that, show strong guarantee bezpika. Mi zobowiązania on zabezpieczeniu procwitania may be important to the steel world in Ukraine. I will be able to produzować spilnu robot in a straight line. Mi wemo are peremowini z Ukrainian delegation. Spodviglo, debitia digit positive progress from najbliższa maybutniogo. Divai here you are ready to be a Russian, an American, a friend of Europe, or a logical part of me, like your Rosvidki there. Si te duj harash pytania, yak may beauty yakim rank verified. At maybutnomu. To that show vsi ki guchni declare. Voni duj often look at yak taka pobudova nuvasiukiv. From yak rozpavid vid hop about those, show vinai courses protsut z fund BlackRock ivas hyad. Show si nadzvicheno important for the Ukrainian people. Ale de guarantee for BlackRock, what kind of investment? In Ukraine, there will be no rozbombovani Russians every hour for a new Oedipu konfliktu. The reason for this is that Russia has to demonstrate its readiness to learn about the American inquisitions in a special way. Mi pamutemo kiu istoriu with a demonstrative blow to the fly. At once, this is the most demonstrative blow to Dnipro. According to the factory. Z oliu z Amerikanskimi. Investment. Si te absolutely zrozumili pidhid, yak at once mi sposterigamo vid Moskvi. So, to choma idea kihuan. In fact, if you want to invest in zrozumili, then no Trump will give us any guarantees for the protection of these capitals in Ukraine. But all the words of the American president do not mean anything in front of Russian missiles. It is demanded by Moscow, and not by Trump Chizy Kiev, that Moscow is the lord of the territory. I see is such an absolutely obvious signal. To that I would say, if one side, I will introduce if good, if I want to pass through. Those who live in France and Great Britain live with themselves about the military contingent on the Ukrainian territory. About the military center on the Ukrainian territory, they are all one great progress, yak we rose. That's why there's a lot of money on the cob. This is not thinking about those who have Paris, Chi, London, Vinik, Patania, Shoto presence of their Vyiskik on the Ukrainian territory. High behind the backs of Ukrainian soldiers. Duj Dobro, Show Nimechina, is beginning to rethink its global role in the European Butspetsi. See Tim Bilshvarto. On the basis of that, if mi sposterigamo in Svidi, dispolukini shtati vij not with such guarantees bezpika Evropi. Yaksi. Bulo du. Another Donald Trump presidency. I debogato that I think that the whole construction is not going to fall apart because Trump will be aggressively provoking himself. Say, like Greenland. All the same, I do not need any declarations, but real ones according to the re-election. Nimekini. Good, because the Americans can't shut down the Ukrainian peace process. Firm bogato to say, show pislia zahaplenia Venezuelski dictator Nicolas Maduro y Venezueli, Trump zagali vidzi. Rosiesko Ukrainskik paramoven, I bud zamatisia vikliuchno, yak vin to speak his own way. And kiu pukul zalashat putinu I see jinpi. Ale, yakmi bakimo, Trump just has a lot of political opportunities in Russia. The Russian-Ukrainian process without results, Tim Bilsh, more factually at once, tomorrow, will be repaired before the election in the United States. Rizdvyani Svyataya Debigli Kinsia. 3 kings have passed through the streets of European and American mist. The robots are being repaired on weekdays, they are waiting for the fall of leaves in 2026. I am waiting for the congressional staff, I am Bakimo, I am the turbulence of Donald Trump, I am the new year. If I'm in front of the Republican congressman, and I'm absolutely ahead of them, if I'm in front of the Republican congressman, then you Trump will be exposed to the imp. This is an absolutely realistic development of the political situation for Trump. Obviously, the Democrats will have to take control. Dopoma palati Kongresu, Voni to correct Trump at the post office, literally in Pershi Misiachi 2027 rock. And in the remaining Misiachi 2026, Roku Vinvij will be Sprimatisia Yak Kulgava Kachka. We have a lot of money, so we have enough material at once for Democrative, Shab Uvalidi so Rishenya. That C is not just up to the Viber to the Congress, C is fighting for life, freedom, and the car of Donald Trump. I threw the Ukrainian process with such a rank, so that I could give my options. Zvinuvachuvati yogo at bezpomiknosti I in that, Chauvin ne cannot zrobiti proti Putina, for Trump not vihid. Navit yaksho uyaviti sobi, Chauvin ne bazhai sveritsia with the Russian president. To that I buv radium, show. I visited every year at the CE pre-conference of special representatives of the newly received staff. C for me is so progress. Os Persha taka otsinka that Samichu, yak vidbavsia at Paris, yak speak show. The process of the Russian-Ukrainian revolution will continue to develop, I will be healthy. The whole 2026 Rick. Be a weasel, I ask you, quiet, to marvel at the say ether, do not write on the say channel, be a weasel, write. Diakuyuchi to your Zusilium, Mies Robilisi channel to the Miljoniki channel. Prosuvimosia Dali. Write down, put up like this, comment, now we think of those who have come to us from your former allies. Choristites Instrumentami Pidtrimki Sogo channel. I vidpoviv na ki pitanya, na chestinu quiet pitten, yaki buli vij vozvokini pidchaz sogo. Why are you guessing? Why are you putting up with something, if you don't have a penny for a coin in Nyogo? So we cut the fight to the end, but not to collapse. See Porityag without gal. If there are no pennies on the vine, it is not possible to fight. I'm not seeming, show Putin Zupanitsia z Tim, show Vin Pidpish Mern please. If you know pennies on Wino, you know pennies on Sagat Virabnikvo, missiles. It's not free to be afraid for a penny. Koli. There are no pennies on the vine, there is no way to pay the contractors of the AK army Naymansiv, Yakubula was created by Putin. And in this situation, I'm Spostarigamo. Yakvi rozumiat, Putinu bud du Zvazko ogolosidi zvuchenu mobilizatsiu. See ter absolutely oshvidni for less time. So now I'm just Vashayu, now I'm not going to have pennies on the vine, I'm not going to have a dime, I'm not going to have a dime. But I'm going to have a dime until the truce is over. Yaki Pravav Nasi got I return. Is it possible for you to be introduced into Ukraine without Zakinchenia Boyovidi? Well, I'm not Bachu Poki, show Nyakoi Pidstavi Vazadi, show Ivrapitsi Zbiriutsia to introduce their Vieska in Ukraine. Without Zakinchenia Boyovidi. For a simple reason, it's been talking about the period itself, for the whole hour, for the beginning of the fighting days. And not before the end of the fighting days. So, in the central plan, Zvicheno, Kotilosia, Shab Ivrapitsi. Virishili, Shovoni can lead his own life without Zakinchenia Boyovidi. Maybe, see Kolis Vidobuditsia in Yakis Rocky. El Poki, show the stink is definitely not up to the end. And besides, tell me be a weasel, and how to explain the situation to the inhabitants of the European cities. On the territory of Ukraine without Zakinchenia. Show from Sogo of Boyovik di Zakonchitsia. Show stink Spiriutsia all one not Voivodi, but just booty present. Well, there will be a stink present. And have you remembered, because you are a victim of Trump and Putin in the plan of calling for a conflation in that. Because Putin, on the mind of Trump, is not afraid of Risikouvati sacrifice. I China si tez bachit. Well, obviously, Putin absolutely pluvati on the life of Vlasnia Spivichiznikiv. So always Budolana Rozieski Emperor, on VDMO firm Sahana countries. So Voivov Radyansky Union. I am not a rose, chivai vashit, see I am a majestic Perevigoyu. Parrot Vorenya Wolasnego population for stuffing, namely you this, Radyansky Union paramig from other Sevi win. I sovsum, not Akim's Valichutin, dosiegnenya. The majestic reach of the world today is to fight with small battles. Abos datnus dispenses with such operations, yaki say, ruinuyut voroga Geradini. So, Putin is not afraid to take on the Russian-Ukrainian front, be it a Kilkist Hromadian of the Russian Federation. I not only Trump Devavani Zuhorskok. Depopulate Russia. At once is sim, yak vibachite, Putin tez ludina, yak sacrifice people, yak are ready to fight for a penny. To that, obviously, there is a reason, because the number of victims of nonviolent people is great, so I do not understand. So show Trump Nikoli not passing. Show Vin don't want to get z Zaluchenium Visk. Al-C does not mean that we cannot bomb, yakis about in the edges, Dinema nuclears bro. So now we've been here for a week, we've been commemorated. I do not vashayu, show Kia Riznitsia Svidkit Proti Trump. Chomu us oblot sahamati us. Nacho territor swoimi viskomi, ale poznan wine, all see yak yglota nbm, naprod lakno. Then yak is satisfied with the combat truck. You may not be satisfied with the combat truck, but any of the best allies of Ukraine are mute. And without a date, Ukraine is coming in, it's not a political map, it's a power. And the Ukrainian people are producing a Kilko rock for a Holznik. Znik z enografichnoi kardisvitu, izalishitsia tilki in archaeological museums. See realist, I see realist, in Yakimi every year is alive. So trust the fighting men, do not trust, because Ukraine will not be a part of the Zakadnoi civilizacji, yais niknenya garantovain. Rozianis Robili versus Visnovki, I spivisnuvanya Roziasko Ukrainskogo Neradom, Protiagum Astanik Chitiriostoric. There will be no more such spivisnuvanya. See, I'm telling you clearly and clearly. Yaksho Ukraine is not able to negotiate with the people of Ukraine, the history of the Ukrainian people is good for their kins prienimni. On Ukrainian lands. Bud ias diaspor, yakasimil, yak si bouvet, si bilshistu diaspor. To that, if you fix it with Rozmova about Boyaguzev, not Boyaguzev, you stink, I fix the bicity. It's no secret that the Jews don't want to, because they have sent soldiers to someone else's land. C is fine. The Sina of human life is unimportant for Rozvinenik civilizacji. Vastly for this reason prices of Oznaka of DeCosta. Chim nishja Sina human life, Tim bilsh wild land. That's why it's so easy to fight with us. To that show Navit z Sinoyu human life at Rozion Gersh, nij at us. Hello? Me say not just about the presence of Boyaguzev, chin not Boyaguzev. If I want to kill you, human nature is like this, if you attack the land, yak chasten people are lying, yak chasten people are lying. Yak chasten people are lying, yak chasten people are hiding the land. The Ukrainians here are not at all interested in the world, the French, the Italians, the Chinese. See Odnikovo. It's just in people's nature. Instincti Ludini will not overdo it. You're ready, you're not ready, you can mobilize. It's a tick. So Bulo v. Watch other Svitovoy Vieni, so at once, so be zavd, Poki Voya people, and not robots. El robots will fight everything better and better, Yakvi Rozamite, in the coming Storichia Jacliva Vien. Yakas Obitsia Nakovo Technichni Progress. We Navit Sobi do not show the scale of Sich Vien. El Uyavidi. In short, it seems that if the French and the British want to organize here Viscovi warehouses, Viscovi Cherguvanya, Viscovi backwaters, then you do not need to feed, trust in them chini. But Podyakuvati for those who are ready to lean on us at once. Russi Pratvoridi of Ukraine on his Forteza, that shown so features of Viziti Ukrainsky people, Yak Fortek, no more. All Zakinchalosia. Minologo will not be able to return to Ukraine until 2020s of another rock. Nobody will turn around. There will be no more central Ukraine. If you want to live in Ukraine, live in Tai, you will. For the additional Zahidna allies. Yaksho Pislia Pripinenia Vognu on the territory of Ukraine, Zbvieska Crane Evropi, Navisho. Show Putinu Pripinyat Vog. So I'm going to finish feeding the whole say ether. I want the nobility to live on sea pitifully so, yak I vi. Navisho Putinu Pripyat Vog, Yaksho here to be a Vijska Krajina member of NATO. I such a rank will be assigned to the Pidsumniv can pay off. All the coming territory of Ukraine, Navit Yaksho Uyevidi, show Putin be content with the territory, Yaku Vij Okupuvov. I Navit Bilshoy territory. To that I nourish, I am mute in my mind, I am on the point of feeding, as you are mute. Yaki instrumenti primashenya Putina, du Pripinenya Vognu. Ale, I've told you, it's an instrument of Visnazenya Rossi. I, Moslevo Todi, in the 20x rocks of the whole story, so maybe Vinict. Play the one that's in the other, mentally seem. We were thinking about those Americans, according to the essence, from the point of view. Your sanctification about Svit is not meritorious at all, because we were called on the head of the other Svitovoy Vini. In fact, do not call on your head. And the Europeans themselves have transformed the ancient continent into Russia. It wasn't the Americans who did it. Who trusted Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini. To Pidpisuvav ze Hitlerum Mussolini to please the Sudetenland. Show. Roosevelt. See all Buli Evropici, see Buli Evropejski Politiki. Received the staff of the democratic land of the I Radyansky Union with its own zbroya. Your groshim have been restored to Europe for another Svitovoy Vini Americani. I shab vc rozumili, you just can pob, yak vigliadaya Evropa, yak vidnovili. Nimechina, France, inchi krani, yaki have taken the Marshall's Plan. I'm looking for a drop, haven't you seen it? Yak Vasco Bulo Central Europe. We are going to come to the village of Zahidno for the collapse of communism. The flattery at once reached the end of the 20th century, according to the economy. Ayla na si Bulo Petribno Skilki Rokiv. 35. I see all American pennies, American investments. The Marshall Plan. So show Patania is not in what merit, I do not merit the Americans. The Americans are famous. The people of the great holy day, the people of the lesser holy day. Z bilshoyu yavlinistu pro investici, z menshoyu, alz in shogoside. De technoparks, de razvitok novitnik technology, de stvoreni vsi socialni merezi. To si stvoryuvov? Not American. Simply majestic is the land of the ancient people. Are you sure about the Americans? I see is true, I see requires just usvidomiti. C is fixated on America, I see is correct. That's why people move to America, that's why they stank of living in the quiet lands, that's why they stank, that's why their fathers. That's why they did with their grandmothers, that's why they didn't understand that's psychology. The new Svitu will be transformed into the psychology of the old one. Site is fine. People do not goiter in the new civilization Uvidom Luvati, yak vigliade inch. Alc ne riven o sviti uyavlinya pro svit. Chinot zakrive taka ogoda take a break from Vini. Rosia is willing not to be offended, yaksho rozumatime, show in a pause to go to the European Viskovi. I'm not zagali vashayu, show nyakoi pausi Vini not iknu. Yaksho vinik can be paused, vona vinik without that, that's how the declaration is written. You've been thinking for the whole hour, is it possible for us to live at home? There is no way anyone can live at home in this way. See Nulova Moslivist. It's possible to pause Tez Nulova, ale it's possible to nag on Putin. I see all elementi vice. Before the speech, Yaki can be booty Zastosovani Trump. Let's wait on the sea, inaksh you will be a Gersh through a Pivroku with an economy, I will be an English and French Visk there. You don't want to Bulo, wait for it, you want to go at once. See Moj Beauty Diplomatia. The same type. Why don't you get well? Because of the fact that I'm Balakuyut so wildly spent your time in Ukraine for a week, you know. Because it won't be for a long time. Maybe. And C is all one diplomatic element of the vice. I'm important, so you should sound like that. To that, I think once again, I declare to enter Ukraine. Hi Navit Kia Vina Zakinchitsia, through Visnazlivi for Ukraine, and for Russia Rock Protestoynya, in the European context. Ale Patanya in Somu vi absolutely right. Besides, I'm looking at the situation. Shodo terminative completed Vini, Vona Bud Vichno folding. I in biakum times, those, show me z go prodovs wemo about si rozmovliati. I those who are able to create a real possibility for the spilna documents of the American-Ukrainian, CT is important. That CC document, yak vith, say. Budvid imeni Trump presentuvati Putin. We could remember, because it is an important moment for the Maybut Nogo Roswitku Podi. In the American-Russian bridges. Once again, do not forget, it's diplomacy. Show Kozhny Pidpizani document is a part of diplomacy. What is important, dwellers me z Amerikankami orthogonal spline room, dwellers presentovali H in Moscow. Do not forget that the whole history is blek. Yak buv stvorny Putinim pro obstril yogo residenci, yakres I bulo povyazon z tim, show Putin not Bazov. Shab Trump voicing Yoma Yakis Spilny. Proposes, Usvogen z Zelensky. Show vin want zervati abo prenamni prigalmuvati Kyiv discussion. At once, the discussion is silent. Trump voicing, show vin not to go to the Putin residence. And now the Russians, obviously, without any bazanya, without any enthusiasm, ale happen to turn. For the style for Paramovi. That's in a new geopolitical situation. If Putin is not a snake, zrobidi nie, shab zupinidi. Vikradenya of his ally Nikola Samadura. Hrazumite, show at once see insha geopolitical situation. See public belittled Putina. One of his former ally Bashar al-Assad was tempted to go to Damascus. Pislia strimkogo cum siriskoi opozicji nakrivati piatim. I say vihid asada z Siri takaz sprichiniv seriozni geopolitichni zmieni. You know, every year the application is spilna spalashena staff. I'm going to make a statement, 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 I'm going to make a statement. Skid, story Ms. Damascus conflict. Srame. Iots, stvoreni spilni mechanism obednanya zusel. Israel and Syria. See Teadni Vidbovsia, such an historic process for a close descent, and also unacceptable for Putin, Yakvi Razumite. And another moment. See Koli Nicolosu Maduru. It was not without reason that Pogros Huvala. Putin te yogo not Vryatuvav. I see is unacceptable for the Russian president. Well, I'm staying you, Yaka Tilki Shozavilasia, Pokimi Razmovliali, see those. Show in an interview with the French -2 TV channel, President Macron said. Show nablaznimi tiznamis biraya to hold Rozmova is Putinim. Everything may be organized at the Shvidki perspective. At a time I'd vib new line contacts, Rozmova got Budisa animega likely. That's why, Yakwi Razumite, Pidchaz si Rozmovi is Putinim Makrante. We'll talk about the possibility of the presence of French Vs on the Ukrainian territory for Zakinchenia. Vini. See OK, not just Peremovini Zarati Paramovin. See Peremovini, Z Presentatio European plans. I Moslevo, Chi Domovlanosti in Paris. Takaz Bul Petribni Frankiskum President Dwellers, Yomu, show Bulo Palasti on the table, firm Yaki Kardi. As the love say Trump ped our their Rosmo is Rosij scheme Dera. I am now Bakimo, show Z Putinim, maybe not till Trump. Yak me Rosumimo. I thank you for the uvaga to the whole effort. Be a weasel, subscribe to the Say channel. Be a weasel, bet like, comment. I'll be your douche byakny. Koristites instrumentami підтримки sogo channel, I допомагate Ukrainian army. Obviously, we may have a майбутньому підтримувати call, not tilki our rizniki. Paramogi, high shasted.